When we're in the space between leaving what no longer serves us and calling forward the life of our dreams, our desires, there's going to be a part of our scarcity that says, just take it. It's almost it. It could be good enough. And there's going to be a part of your woman that says, oh no, you know this is not it. Don't say yes. And then we go through the little war that happens within. I could just try and be happy with what I've got. And your woman inside is screaming, this isn't it. This isn't our standard. And so we get to get really clear on what our leverage is so that when those moments present, we are able to connect to the leverage, anchor to the why and say, oh, almost it, but not, which means that it's not it. Hello and welcome to your life. I am Rebecca Antonucci and this is Sex, Love and Money. I'm in Austin, Texas, finally. I am so happy to be here back with all of my friends back in summer. I'm recording this for you right now in the throes of winter in Perth. You know how I said that it got really good and the weather just turned it on for me? Well, in the last 2 weeks, it really turned it all the way off. So I'm back in summer. We all know that I love a good goddess glow. I can just imagine how bronze my skin is right now. And I'm just so happy to be back. I'm currently in the process of organizing my artist visa to make my move to America. I'm really desiring home. I'm really desiring groundedness and stability. And before I even thought about this concept, I already had the desire for home within me. But I also speak a lot, and I actually speak about it in the podcast today. I thought a lot about the kind of standards that my partner would be holding for his woman. And I got really clear that my partner would not be desiring a woman that is swanning all around the world, and that he would be really clear that he's holding space for a wife, a mother, a homemaker. And so I love that my desire for home came before that clarity, because I don't believe in doing something just to get something. But I love that I had this awareness of, oh, I'm actually aching for home more than I'm aching for partnership. And then when I was thinking about calling in partnership, I thought to myself, oh yeah, I definitely could have never met or aligned with a man up until now, because the kind of man that I desires a mother, a wife, a homemaker. And I have not been that the past 2.5 years. So this episode today, you're going to love it. I know that you love my single dating stories. I was on a podcast. Actually, I was on 5 podcasts in Perth the week before I left Western Australia. In-person podcasts, really cool people. Can't wait to share these conversations. Different conversations to what you get to hear when I bring my conversations to the podcast. But a woman, her name is Annalise, she said to me, should women settle? And you know, of course, I jumped on that conversation, my favorite conversation, standards, boundaries, values, desires. Of course, I was such a no to that question, but a big yes to her asking me that question. And I couldn't not bring it to the podcast. So today we dive into the conversation around settling, why we shouldn't settle, and what standards are important for us to get clear on to know when we're settling. I then go and share a really great dating story. You know how I love to name all the guys, all the men. We had Mr. Purpose Driven, Mr. BJJ, Mr. Kanye West. Well, now we had Mr. South America. Mr. South America was a physical representation, a lived experience of me settling on my standards. And he was almost the dream standards packaged in a great man with 2 very important parts missing. And I share this story with you so that you can hear yourself in me and hear why subconsciously there was a thought that maybe I could make space for negotiating on my non-negotiable standards to see if something worked. And I also share and show you why when we're women who do this work, when we self-abandon, when we betray, when we reject our own standards, situations, circumstances, relationships with people go south. Because if you're listening to this podcast right now, I know that you're a woman who's declared that she's not going to settle on her standards and she's not going to settle on a life half lived. And you know that you deserve more and you know that you desire to be a yes to your yes. So anytime that you're a 90% yes to your yes, but not 100% yes to your yes, life's going to say, nah, bitch, you're a full yes to your yes. And this isn't meant to work because you're actually a no to this. It's almost a conversation of, you're either a full fuck yes or a no. When it comes to our non-negotiable standards, I truly believe that to be true. So if you're desiring to date, if you want to learn how to channel your magnetism, connect to your turn on and actually show up to the world ready to be seen and available from your center, from your aliveness, not from grabby, graspy energy, This episode is going to be a fun, wild one that is really for you. If you love this episode, please screenshot it, share it to your story, tag me so I can connect with you and so that I can share it as well. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a 5-star review and please leave me a written review. If you're over on Spotify, you can literally comment on all the episodes now, the individual ones. So leave me a comment because I read them all and I respond to them all. I love to know which episodes are landing and what you're getting out of it. I hope you are loving life just as much as I am being bronzed and in my aliveness over in Austin, Texas. Strap yourself in because this is one hell of an episode. Let's fucking go. Last week, I was a guest on 5 in-person podcasts in Perth, Western Australia. It was my last week in Perth before I flew out to Austin, Texas. And one of the hosts asked me a really great question that I couldn't not bring to you. She asked me the question, should women settle? Now, I know that you know what my answer to that question is. But more importantly than what my answer to that question is, I'm really curious what your answer to that question is. And beyond the answer, I really want you to understand the why. And so, of course, when she asked me, should women settle? I said no. And to get really clear on the why for me, the why for me is because me settling on my standards is self-abandonment. Me settling on my standards is betrayal. Me settling on my standards is a subconscious narrative that says Rebecca doesn't deserve what she really wants because she desires something and maybe she's not speaking it out loud, but when she sacrifices her standards, she is unconsciously telling herself, might not come, so just settle. Just take what you can get just in case you want too much. And I'm a big no to that. So I'd love for you to get curious about what your answer to that question is. But beyond the answer, I really want you to get really clear on the why. Why is the why important? Because the why is your leverage. Because things are going to happen in your life where almost good enough kind of meets your standards, but not experiences present. And when we're in the space between leaving what no longer serves us and calling forward the life of our dreams, our desires, we're going to start receiving kind of almost, but not quite it, experiences, job opportunities, dating, friendships, career, finances, investment opportunities, collaboration opportunities. And there's going to be a part of our scarcity that says, just take it. It's almost it. It could be good enough. And there's going to be a part of your woman that says, oh no, you know this is not it. Don't say yes. And then we go through the little war that happens within. For those that know, I know you know of, I could just maybe make this almost good enough experience work. This almost good enough collaboration, this almost good enough dating experience, this almost good enough sex. I could just try and be happy with what I've got. And your woman inside is screaming, this isn't it. This isn't our standard. And so we get to get really clear on what our leverage is so that when those moments present, we are able to connect to the leverage, anchor to the why and say, oh, almost it, but not, which means that it's not it. I know that we've all heard the saying, it's either a full fuck yes or it's a fuck no. When it comes to standards, especially your non-negotiable ones, when it comes to desires for life, not nice to have standards, not nice to have desires, but non-negotiable, I know that I'm not willing to settle and I know that you're not willing to either. When we settle, we have a conscious mind. Conscious mind is the gatekeeper of our subconscious mind. When we're given the opportunity to settle, the conscious mind gets to go, okay, I could settle right now, but what would my subconscious then see? My subconscious would be thinking, oh, there goes Rebecca. Again, not believing that what she desires is possible for her life, just taking what she can get just in case what she wants doesn't come. And then that energetic, that belief system is going to be running my entire life. Now, what I believe has happened for all of us as we've really dove into this work is that when we settle on our standards, the situation illuminates and amplifies tenfold. Maybe when we were in our mid-20s, we could have gotten away with settling on our standards and not really noticed until 3 years later in a breakup. We're like, how did I miss these red flags? How did I not realize I was settling there? But now as women who are so connected to ourselves, our truth, our desires, what we're a yes to, what we're a no to, what we really want for our life, we've done so much reflection and introspection about the times we've dropped ourselves, the times we've betrayed ourselves, the times we've said yes when we really meant no, the times we said no when we really meant yes. Because we've done all of this work, now when we settle, the situation almost illuminates and amplifies tenfold, where we're like, oh, I can't avoid my settling anymore. Life is blowing up in my face when it does. So I have a dating story for you. I know you're really going to like it. And what I would love for you to listen to when you turn your hearing on, when I tell stories because you can chat GPT any piece of information you want now. You can Google any piece of information you want. So why would you be listening or watching this podcast? Because it's fun, it's engaging. You're about to hear a real life story that chat GPT can't experience for him or herself. And what I want you to hear is not only resonance, but I desire for you to listen to what is relevant to you. I'm telling my story for the purpose of you hearing yourself in my experience. So I'm in Bali. I had my Mr. Purpose-driven experience where the one man I've liked in such a long time ghosts me in March. And yeah, I was feeling a little let down, a little disappointed, really thought that something could have been beautiful for us, really shocked and feeling very disrespected. Obviously, I know if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, boundaries and respect is really important to me. Communication is so important to me. Courageous communication is really important to me. So when I was ghosted, I felt disrespected. I felt hurt. I felt what part of me attracted this experience. And then I was also thinking, you're 37, you're dating for intentional partnership. And yeah, I won't lie. I think being ghosted, I was like, whoa. Of all the experiences I've ever thought that I would ever have in my life, this one came as a little bit of a shock. And so I'm in Bali. I'm thinking I'm not going to date in Bali. I'm back to remember my big generalization, no purpose-driven men exist in Bali. No man that's in alignment with me would be swanning around shirtless on a scooter. I'm back in that limiting belief system. So I'm taking myself on dates and I've said to myself, okay, I'm willing to put energy out there to receive energy from men, but I'm probably going to wait to date intentionally in America. And I also intuitively asked myself, when this ghosting experience happened, I really did sit with the question of, and I want you to sit with this as well, why did I attract this into my life? Why did I need this experience to come into my life? What was the ghosting experience here to expand me into? And I realized for me, it was my life is not meant to be created in Bali. Therefore, no man that is desiring to create a life for himself in Bali is ever meant to say yes to me. So if you're going through a challenging experience, I would love for you to think about why. If you are the creator of it all, if you are the main character of your life, if unconsciously you were writing the entire script, and I don't know if you believe that or not, but if you are, or you're curious if you are, why would you write Mr. Purpose Driven, ghosting you in Bali? Why would you write that? For me, my answer was his soul would have had to say no to me no matter what if my life is not meant to be in Bali, Indonesia. I'm there in Bali feeling a little bit hurt, a little bit, I wouldn't call it fragile, but just a little rocked by the whole ghosting experience, a little turned off or a lot turned off by Bali men. And I'm at dinner on my own at my favorite restaurant. Now, going for dinner, I love a solo date. And this is something that if you haven't been on one, I'd love for you to go and take yourself on a solo date. I love to sit there with my wine, enjoy the scenery, enjoy my surroundings. I love to dress up really nice for myself. I love to talk to all the wait staff. I love to go to a restaurant where there's a beautiful DJ playing. I love to take myself on a solo date. I take myself to my favorite restaurant and I'm on this solo date. And I sit at the restaurant and I'm on a long table facing forward, facing all of the garden. And there is a couple on a date to the left of me. Now, as I walk in and get seated, I notice that the man notices me when I walk in. And immediately I think to myself, oh, I really believe in terms of seeing attractive people, that if your partner sees an attractive woman, I'm also going to see that attractive woman and think, oh God, she's really beautiful. But that's as much energy that I would like myself or him to give that woman before I believe it's a cross of the boundary. So I'm sitting there. I walk in and I notice this man notice me. I see him with a woman and I think he almost noticed me a little bit too much for that to be respectful to the woman he's sitting next to. And then that's all I think about it. I sit down and I'm having my dinner. As I'm sitting down at dinner, I can really feel him giving me a lot of energy. And I lightly look to the side just to see what's going on. I'm like, I swear he's on a date with someone. And I think to myself, God, if that was my husband, if that was my boyfriend, he would not be husband or boyfriend for too much longer. And I really thought, actually, how he's being with me is disrespectful because his energy is so obvious and so towards me and so coming at me that I'm confused if they're friends or on a date. I don't give anything back. Then his phone rings and he stands up and takes a call and then walks outside the restaurant. And because our table was right at the front, he goes and stands right in front of me and he is sending flirtatious energy towards me. He's on the phone, but he's looking up and he's smiling. I can tell he's almost peacocking. He was really attractive. So he's almost peacocking and I'm very confused because there's a woman that he looks like he's on a date with to my left. Anyway, I don't think anything of it. Obviously, I'm not giving anything back because to me that would be, a huge break of the sister code. There's a man sitting there with a woman and I desire a man that isn't entertaining any woman right now. That's the kind of man that I'm calling in. So I think nothing of it except for this is a bit weird. You're on a date. Why are you trying to flirt with me or even just get my attention? And then the woman leaves. And next minute, Mr. South America, remember how we love to name our men, got Kanye West, Mr. Purpose Driven, Mr. BJJ. Now we've got Mr. South America and he's gorgeous. Like he is so attractive. He's connected to his primal masculinity. You can tell South Americans are in general, but you can tell he's connected to his sex, his eros, his passion, his aliveness. He's got this. When I say aliveness, have you ever met an attractive person and they're so physically beautiful, but then you're talking to them and all of a sudden that person really becomes kind of unattractive because there's no essence inside of them that's switched on? There is an essence inside of them. They just haven't switched it on. Or you could meet someone where you're like, you're not really my physical cup of tea, but you've got this on button inside of you. That to me is eros. That to me is aliveness. So he's already gorgeous, but when he comes up, he's charismatic, he's engaging, he's cheeky, and I can just tell that on button inside of him is switched all the way on. And I find aliveness just so alluring when you meet it and see it and feel it in a person. So he comes up. He lets me know that he was on a date with the most boring woman in the world, told her to leave, paid for a meal so that he could come up and talk to me. Now, in that moment, I'm like, oh, I don't know if that really feels nice to me. That almost feels a little bit that there was a way that he could have worded it that may have still been quite respectful to that woman rather than she was the most boring fill in the blank that I've ever met. But I think this was his, or not his words, but almost his story was, I feel like God put me on this date with that boring woman so I could be sat next to you. But this is the part that I want you to hear. I'm feeling fragile isn't the word for it, but it's the only word that I can grab right now. I'm feeling a little fragile/disappointed with the Mr. Purpose Driven experience. I got this gorgeous, sexy, alive man that's come up to me and I think, you know what? Maybe the universe has set us up for this experience. Yeah, sure. Let me give you my number. Now, Mr. South America is super successful, like wildly successful, like blow my mind successful. We all know that's important to me. He's connected to his aliveness and his passion. So I can already feel that sex is just going to be, if it was to happen, it didn't. If it was to happen, that it would just be there. You can feel it from him. So already there are two really big boxes checked from Mr. South America. And then I get my villa broken into and he texts me asking me to go for dinner. And I just said, oh, maybe not dinner now. I've just had this thing happen. He calls straight away. He has this protective, let's sort this out. Do you need help? How can I help you? Tell me who did it. I want to sort this out for you. I didn't even know this guy. And he's brought this protective leadership energy to me. It felt very masculine. So then I was like, you know what? Why not give this guy a go? I know I said I wasn't going to date men in Bali, but why not? Like maybe God did line us up to sit next to each other. And so I say yes to going for dinner. And we go for dinner. When we get to dinner, now remember my number one non-negotiable health standard when it comes to dating is that he does not smoke or vape. That's something personal that's really important to me because I desire a partner that loves to work out, that wants to stay fit and healthy, is going to be a fit and healthy father running around with our children. I have a personal belief system around what it means to smoke and vape. And so that's just a non-negotiable for me. When we go for dinner, he turns around and says to me, "Do you mind if I smoke?" And now my thing is, I'm not going to tell someone, please don't smoke, because if I'm exploring dating intentionally for committed partnership, then if you're a smoker, you're going to smoke at some stage. So don't not smoke on our first date and then start smoking 4 months in. So I say, yeah, of course, you can smoke if that's what you desire to do. I prefer to be around non-smokers, but if you would love to smoke, smoke. And he's smoking Bali cigarettes. I don't know anything about cigarettes, but they're not as strong as being around a normal cigarette. So he's smoking. He's also drinking beer after beer after beer after beer. I'm a non-drinker. I'm a 1 to 1.5 wines kind of woman. I haven't been drunk since November 2023. So for me, I really believe that if like attracts like and light attracts light, him smashing beers and smoking and me drinking sparkling water out of a wine glass and having a strong non-negotiable of he doesn't smoke or vape, already I'm seeing visually a conflict in value and standards alignment. But he's starting to talk and he's brought his providership energy, super masculine, connected to his aliveness. And I've just found out how successful he is and how much he wants to provide for his wife and his family and create the life of their dreams and make sure that his wife works because she wants to, but not because she has to. And all the things that I say that I'm desiring. You know, he's talking to me and saying the things that I want to hear. He's so set up that he wants a woman that's already set up so that his life doesn't become her life, but he can contribute so that she can take her life wherever she wants to go and amplify it 100-fold. So of course, my ears are pricking up of, oh my God, this is almost, I want you to catch this. This is almost everything that I said that I desire. An alive man, a successful man, a purpose-driven man, a man that wants to provide for his family, fire in his belly to provide for his family, wants me to have my own thing, but wants me to do it from want to, not have to. This is exactly what I desire. Exactly what I desire. But saying all of this whilst drinking a beer every 20 minutes and chain smoking Bali cigarettes. But I'm in my fragile / disappointed, Mr. Purpose Driven ghosted me experience. And I think to myself, well, if I really asked what my subconscious was saying, do I really need it all? If he's willing to provide all of that and that's his truth, maybe I could tolerate the Bali cigarettes. He's not getting drunk. His behavior isn't changing, even though I kind of have a judgment around people that slam back beers every 20 minutes. He's not getting drunk in front of me. He's still the same man. Maybe I could date a man that loves to drink that many beers at dinner. The dinner was great. The conversation was amazing. The way that he played with me, the way that he ordered for me, the way that he touched my leg or went to kiss me, it was all amazing. But what was not amazing for me, the beer and the cigarettes. And I'd love for you to think about right now, what are you hearing about all the micro ways that Rebecca was like, oh, but maybe what I really want doesn't exist. So I could just choose the almost good enough, almost what I want is here. So just from scarcity, I could say yes. And so that was almost my thought process, or really was my thought process in that experience. And so I thought, let's explore it. And so we go on another date and he asks for a coast walk and we go for a really beautiful coast walk up and down the beach at sunset. It was amazing. Handhold, lots of great conversation, just like felt really comfortable in his presence. We finish our walk. We go and sit down at the beanbags at the beach. He wants to order a cocktail. Now, I'm just realizing in that moment, hey, like this is 2 dates. He's drunk more alcohol on 2 dates than what you drank in all of last year. Again, this is such an obvious values misalignment. And then my girlfriend says, let's go out for dinner. So I say, okay, look, I'm going to not go out with you this evening. I'm going to go see my girlfriend and we're going to spend some time together. And he says to me, will you please meet me at a party tonight? My girlfriend and I go out for dinner and we're sitting around and we're like, her name's Rebecca as well. Rebecca doesn't drink. I don't drink. And after dinner, we normally go home to bed and we're like, how are we so attractive? And we're not chatting to men right now. And we're thinking to ourselves, where are we going to meet these men? And I was like, well, this guy wants us to go to a party. And we think, should we do something different? Should we play the opposite game? Should we put ourselves out there? So we decide, yes, fuck it. Let's do something that we don't normally do. Let's go to the party. And we get to the party and it's all the influences of Bali. I have a personal judgment about all the influences of Bali. So I'm already like in this eye roller experience of why am I here? This isn't fun for me. I love waking up early. I love going to the gym. I love journaling. I love playing with the puppy dogs on the beach. I love podcasting. I love having really engaging conversations. I do love to dance, but this environment didn't feel fun. If all of my friends were there, it might feel amazing, but this didn't feel good for me. And then I see Mr. South America. And Mr. South America is with 4 other friends. And now I'm desiring a mature man. I'm not desiring to date a 28-year-old. Him and his friends all have their shirts off and they're slamming back bottles and they're drinking a lot. And I just felt in this really obvious moment that I was seeing so clearly this massive gap between the values that I hold for my life and the values that he holds for his life. Now, there was nothing wrong with the values that he holds for his life. It just didn't match mine. So I walk over and immediately I can feel, and this is what I want you to connect with, I can feel my body contract. Like when I was on a date with him, I felt really open. Despite the smoking and the drinking, I felt open. When I was walking on the beach, I felt open. But as soon as I saw him and his friends shirtless, slamming bottles and smoking cigars, I felt my body go into contraction. But what I mean by contraction is my body went small. And when I'm out, I love to dance. And so when I was dancing, I felt my body feel rigid and feel not very expressed. And when he went to put his arm around me, I felt like my arms wanted to cross across my body. And I'm really connected to embodiment work, right? But getting out of our mind and into our body, because my mind has already said values do not match, standards do not match, values for drinking do not match, health values do not match, how you spend your Saturday evenings do not match. I love dancing, but this is not how I want to spend my Saturday evening. But then my body goes into contraction and I realize, oh, my body wants to protect myself. Not that he was dangerous, but that my body didn't want to say yes to him. And so that immediately was a sign, oh, my body is speaking to me. You don't really want to be here right now. When I was dancing, I was like, try and get in the energy, Rebecca. Try and just move your body, dance, have some fun with your friends. I turned and looked at my friend. Her body also wasn't very expressed, wasn't moving a lot. I could see that we were both in contraction because we had placed ourselves in an environment that we didn't want to be in. In 2017, I walked into the Bridge Experience, one woman, and I walked out someone entirely different. Since then, I truly believe that the seed of everything that is good in my life was planted in those personal development and nervous system workshops and trainings that I did all the way back then. I love this work so much that I have since become a Bridge Experience facilitator and trainer, and I have literally been traveling the world for 5 years supporting Preston Smiles and Alexi Panos and this life-changing experience. If you can make a way out of no way to get into these rooms this July or this October in Austin, Texas, I invite you, I implore you to do what you can to make it happen. If you're ready to make it happen, head to thebridgemethod.org and use the code SEX, LOVE, AND MONEY to book your ticket and save yourself 20% off your enrollment. Head to the link in my show notes and you can book your place in the Bridge Experience in 2025 today. And so we leave. And Mr. South America messaged me saying, was I going to come back? I didn't really know my answer in that moment. And so I said to him I was going to think about it, and I'd text him once I dropped my friend home. And obviously I never returned to the party. And that was the end of Mr. South America. Now, what did I learn in that experience? Maybe Rebecca 5 years ago could have pushed aside the drinking, could have pushed aside the smoking. But now, because I'm so connected to my standards and my values and my body, immediately from date 1, I knew the smoking and drinking didn't align. Immediately from date 2, where we went for a beautiful coast walk, but then when we sat down on the beanbags and he ordered a cocktail, I knew that our values didn't align. Then when we went to the party and I walked into the party and I thought to myself, this isn't the kind of environment that I thrive in. Remember, the quality of the tree is determined by the quality of the soil that the seed is planted in. So why would I go and put myself in an environment, put myself in a party that I don't want to be a part of, put myself around people that I don't want to be friends with? Of course, my body went into collapse and guard and protection and shutdown. But my obvious awareness was, oh, I was disappointed about Mr. Purpose Driven. And then something that kind of looked like my standards, but definitely wasn't all of my standards, especially not my non-negotiable standards, showed up. And because I was hurt and disappointed about my recent dating experience, I thought to myself, maybe I could settle on some of the things that are most important to me because other very important things are present. And because I'm so connected to the work, it took 3 dates for me to realize, oh no, my non-negotiable standards are so important to me. I can't betray myself. And my leverage is that exact experience. It felt so uncomfortable and it felt like a self-betrayal. It felt like, oh, even when I was at the party when he was trying to put his arm around me, I felt tacky. I'm like, oh, I'm a 37-year young, grown mature, beautiful woman that's like, yeah, wildly expressing all these things on the internet. But there was a part of me that was like, I don't want to be seen with this man with his shirt off, putting his arm around me, trying to kiss me in public, smashing back bottles and smoking cigars. This is a poor representation of who I am as a woman. And so that was an obvious, oh, wow, this is an abandonment of self, Rebecca. I know you wanted to explore, could it be possible? And you put yourself in the environment and you've realized it really isn't possible. Betraying your non-negotiable standards is not possible for your life. Settling, you can try. And this is to come back to the original question. Should you settle on your standards? You can, absolutely. And you're just going to have a Mr. South America experience occur because settling on your standards isn't going to feel good. Settling on your standards is going to feel like contraction in your body. You're not going to settle on your standards. But until you have enough experiences to show you so you can feel what the experience of settling creates for your life, you may keep settling on your standards until it becomes so apparent that your standards are your standards for a very strong reason. Now, again, doesn't make his standards right. It doesn't make him less, doesn't make drinking wrong, doesn't make smoking wrong, doesn't make cigars wrong. Just means it's a misalignment when it comes to Mr. South America and Rebecca. So how do we make this relevant to you? If you have settled, if you have had a disappointing dating experience happen, the first question before we go into prevention, yes, prevention is better than cure. But first things first, let's go into reflection because hands up if you've ever settled on your standards. I'm sure every woman listening to this podcast right now is like, yep, definitely have time and time and time again until I learned the leverage underneath my standard. So let's go into reflection. I'd love for you to think about the last dating experience you had and the first flag that popped up that you ignored, that said, oh, this isn't alignment, Rebecca. Oh, this isn't alignment. Oh, drinking and smoking, not in alignment. Oh, I can give you an example. One of my male friends asked me this around Mr. Purpose Driven. He said to me, what was the first red flag that showed up that you chose to ignore? And when I think about it, Mr. Purpose Driven, in less than a week of us meeting, we'd only been on 2 dates, not even had a first kiss at this point. I was away on retreat and he started messaging me that he wanted to go away on a weekend away together. And immediately, boom, my body said, oh, that doesn't feel good for him to say that. I mean, we haven't even kissed. I don't even know if I want to go on a third date with you or if I want to spend more time with you. Why would I want to go on a whole weekend away with you? We don't even know what more than 3 hours feels like together yet. Why are you trying to take me away? Are you trying to have sex with me? Why would you say this? But I ignored that red flag. What was the first red flag that I ignored with Mr. South America? I ignored the drinking and smoking. I say that my number one non-negotiable for health is smoking and vaping, and I chose to ignore that. So immediately I can already find where I settled, where I sacrificed what's most important to me, or that wave of intuition that hit. So that's first question, especially for the women that are saying, oh, I'm lacking trust, I'm lacking confidence in my dating experience, I've let myself down, I've ignored signals, I've ignored signs. Just like a few episodes ago where we were talking about the wave of intuition and how to recognize it, we can go into some introspection and reflection and say, hey, what were the signs, what were the signals, what were the flags where your intuition said, oh, I don't know about this, and you overrode it? Because there's some information in there for you. Now, prevention is better than cure. We've had standards in the past that we've dropped. We didn't know that we had standards that we didn't voice because we weren't even clear of what they are within ourselves. And so number one step, if we want to date with intention and never settle on our standards again, is, of course, getting absolutely clear of what your non-negotiable standards are. So there's 3 kinds of standards. Non-negotiable standards cannot live without, like he doesn't smoke or vape. Nice to have standards, but are not deal breakers. So let me try and think of an example for myself. I mean, based on all the comments I've made about Mr. Purpose Driven being short, I assume that maybe my husband might be a bit taller, but I was very clear that I would love my partner to be tall. That would be a nice to have standard. Totally okay if he's not. And then there's fantasy standards. Women will come to me and they'll say he's 6'4" with a big dick and he's a millionaire and he this and he that. And they have this perfect kind of hero in the rom-com kind of definition of who their dream partner is. And it's very important for us to get clear on, is this a fantasy standard where I'm cock blocking myself or is this non-negotiable? Does he have to be 6'4"? Does he have to have a giant dick that squirts sugar-free, dairy milk chocolate. Is that really important to you? Why are your non-negotiables your non-negotiables? Why are your nice to have but not essential standards your nice to have but not essential standards? And why are your fantasy standards your fantasy standards? Because some of us have standards and we don't know why they're important to us. So I really want you to get clear on the why. Getting clear on the why is going to be the leverage for how you live your life. Number 1, introspection. Number 2, getting clear on what the standards even are, because some of us have been swanning about our lives, settling on our standards all over our lives because we haven't even created the clarity around what the standards even are in the first place. Okay, so now we've declared we're women that are not going to settle. We're not going to settle on what's non-negotiably important to ourselves. We've got really clear on why. We know why this is important, why this is so important to you that you will not settle on what's most important in your life. Now you want to attract. You're in the energy of, well, I can't just sit in my house and hope that the delivery driver is going to be my happily ever after. I get to meet the universe halfway, put myself out there with trust and intentional energy without being grabby, without being anxious, without being in pursuit and in the chase and in the hunt. So what that might look like is intentionally living your life, dropping your feminine energy and presenting to the world as a woman who's available and open and willing to meet the universe halfway, but not attached to how the energy comes back around. Now, I'm going to talk about boomerang energy. I always share this analogy with my clients who are in business. Say I run a marketing campaign and that marketing campaign reaches out and offers 50 women on my left the opportunity to work with me. Those 50 women, most of the time, don't say yes in return. But the energy when I channel it to my left doesn't stop. They don't say, oh no, I don't want to work with you. And then the energy just dies. No, energy doesn't die. So what happens with the energy? It circles back around. And all of a sudden, boom, 5 women will appear on my right and say, hey, I've been thinking about working with you. Do you have any spaces for coaching? So I sent all of my energy intentionally to my left. Those women maybe said no to me. And then that energy continued until all of a sudden it boomeranged back around and I received the same result just from a different place. Now, I want you to apply this to dating. You get to show up to life in your center, in your power, in your feminine radiance, in your vitality, in your energy, in your aliveness, in your magnetism, in your yes, riding the wave of yes in your life. And you can intentionally channel your energy to the left. Like I intentionally channeled my energy towards Mr. Purpose Driven. Now, Mr. Purpose Driven was a no. But does the energy stop? No. The energy is going to boomerang back around. It came a little. Mr. South America showed up. I met the energy. I realized this isn't the energy that I want to dance with for a long time. It was a short time. It was 3 dates and a few kisses. Boom, I'm going to send the energy back out. And as long as I'm unattached to where I send it and how it comes back to me, there's no opportunity for anything other than the energy to come back around. Now, I'm not in control of the timeline. That to me is God's work. When he shows up, when the women say yes to my work, it's going to require their soul's path and my soul's path to match. I can't control that. What I can control is my energy and how I show up to life. So how would you control boomerang energy? I love the concept of boomerang energy, by the way. It feels so good that when I ask for something that I really want and I get a no, but I know that I was in my center and in my power and in my personal authority and in my truth when I asked for that thing. Even if I get a no, the energy doesn't die. So I get to keep showing up to life and I get to keep asking for what I want. I get to keep expanding. I get to keep being seen. I get to keep putting intentional energy out there because even if one place was a no, another domain, another area is going to be a yes. Another person, the right person, the aligned person, they're eventually going to be a yes when it's time for them to be a yes. So how can you boomerang and send the intentional energy into this boomerang energy? We've talked about this before in past podcasts, the handkerchief drop. If you're a single woman dating who desires to attract not online, and yes, I think you do get to put yourself online. So many women are like, I hate the online world. We get to practice. We get to get the reps in. If you want to be confident, you get to be competent at talking about asking for your needs to be met, at setting boundaries. So yes to the online space. But if you're a woman who is complaining that the online space is boring and there's no good men on and everyone's just chatting shit and I get catfished or I don't want to have a pen pal online, what are you doing to fish where the fish are, back to the beginning of the episode, to fish where the fish are and show up to life from your radiance and show life that you're available. Are you meeting life halfway? And so the handkerchief drop looks like seeing a gorgeous man. Now, the rule is you have got to be attracted to this guy. Like if that man packaged that way had the values and the standards and the alignment to match you and the desires that you're holding, that if everything fit, you'd be a yes, and eventually you'd fuck that man. You're not going to. That's not the challenge, but that's what it is. I've had clients be like, well, there was this guy or there was this granddad sitting on a bench. I'm like, it's not a granddad sitting on a bench. This man's energy is representative of the future man that you're calling in. This man that you're going to go up to, his energy is standing proxy for the committed partnership that you're calling forward. So he might not come around a lot. I find women way more beautiful and alluring than men. I could go up into 100 women in a day and say, oh my God, I love your hair. You're so beautiful. Oh my God, that dress on you looks stunning. Oh my God, your eyes. I noticed you in the cafe. I find so many women attractive because women, we're gorgeous. I'm more selective when it comes to men. So if you're like me and you're a little more selective when it comes to men, be intentional and be selective. But when he walks past, maybe you're in the gym, maybe you're in the grocery store. Maybe you are stopped and stationary at the traffic lights and you turn to the right and the man with his window down is really gorgeous. You're going to drop your feminine energy, not from chase, not from hunt, not from grab. It's a gentle drop, like, here I am. And you're going to let him know that you're here. And it would sound something like, hey, my name's Rebecca, and I just want to say I saw you from afar and you just have the most beautiful eyes. I hope you have a beautiful day. And then you walk away. You just walk. You're just dropping the energy and saying, I'm here, I'm available. And what I'm saying when I do that is, God, I'm willing to be courageous. I'm willing to put myself out there. And if this man came packaged in my standards and values and he was available, I would be a yes to him. So part 1, getting clear on our non-negotiable standards. Part 2, getting clear on why our non-negotiable standards are important. Part 3, connecting to the concept of boomerang energy. So many of us are like, I told him he's attractive. Why didn't he ask me for my number? High intention, low attachment. That's not how it works. We're not like, oh, I did the thing and I must get a result from the place that I put the energy and the effort. I get to trust that the energy is going to boomerang back around. Part 4, the courage and the confidence to live in my radiance and drop my energy so that life and the man that I desire can see me. I'm willing to shine. I'm willing to be magnetic. I'm willing to be seen. And now I know I've been talking about this concept of magnetism a lot recently. And magnetism, I would say, is very similar to my definition of the concept of eros and aliveness. You know that gorgeous person, but then you go on a date with them and they're kind of dead on the inside or vanilla, or they have no passion, or they've just kind of ticked the box of life and they've subscribed to what society told us to do. They went and got the degree and got the job and did the right thing, and you're chatting to them on the date, and it's kind of like job interview style where you ask a question, he answers, he asks a question, you answer, and you're like, fuck, like, where's the chemistry and the energy? That to me is a person who lacks eros, aliveness, passion, magnetism. So if you're a woman who's saying, okay, I want to drop my aliveness, I want to drop my feminine energy, I'm ready to be seen, I want him to notice me. Well, a turned on woman attracts differently. But he's not turning us on. Like, I'm in my born again virgin era in 2025. I have not had sex this year. Literally, I'm like, I believe that I'm clearing energy before my partner comes. The last person I had sex with is a woman in January. I haven't had sex with a man since like December. I'm like, literally born again virgin. What? We never knew this would happen, but hey, it's happening. But I'm still a turned on woman. It's funny. I went on a dinner with a group of women. They said, oh, you should just put yourself out there so that you don't lose that feeling. And I was like, what are you talking about, losing the feeling? Feeling isn't anywhere. I feel the feeling. The feeling is inside of me because I don't rely on the man to create the turn on. The turn on is here. I'm turned on by life. I know how to turn myself on. I know what excites me. So when I drop my feminine energy, it's noticed because it's not what I look like. It's the energy that I bring. So if you're saying, oh, I walked up to that man and I told him he has a nice shirt and nice blue eyes and I smiled and nothing came back. But I've done that like 30 times and not one man has turned around and said like, hey, what was that? Like, I need to know who you are. Could I get your number? That's feedback. And the feedback may very well be, and you can ask yourself this question, am I a turned on woman? This doesn't have to have anything to do with sex. Zero, zilch, none, nothing to do with your sex. Everything to do with your passion for life, your aliveness. You're willing to get up and be like, oh my God, it's Thursday. Like, I'm awake. Are you connected to that part of you? It's interesting. A woman reached out to work with me recently and she said, it's just every time I see your face on the screen, she's like, you're just so alive. Your face is there and there's so much energy in what you say. And your energy and your aliveness and your turn on doesn't have to look like Rebecca Antonucci. We all have our unique soul signature and our unique essence. But are you connected to your essence? And if your answer is no, like, yes, do your standards. Yes, connect to your non-negotiables. Yes, get clear on your why. Yes, boomerang energy. Yes, put yourself out there. But that's actually your work. Asking yourself, what turns me on? What excites me about life? What gets me going? Otherwise, am I relying on him? Am I the woman saying, oh, I'm in my born-again virgin era, my sex is gone, my turn-on is gone, but when I meet this guy, he's going to turn it on for me? Fuck no. I know that to you is settling on your standard. You get to be the turned-on woman so that when he meets you, he's like, kind of like Mr. South America. He was so wealthy, so successful that he'd been with a woman where he gave everything to her. And he said when they separated, she really lost her sense of self because him and his life and his lifestyle and his money, that was everything that made her feel like she was who she was. But who are you without him? And if we're really clear on the kind of man that we're attracting, we could get really clear about the kind of woman that he'd desire to call in. And I'm quite certain that my man is calling in a woman that's got her own thing going on and is connected to her yes and is connected to her energy and is connected to her aliveness and is connected to her eros without him. He wants to give that to me and amplify it and all the things that he's going to bring, but he doesn't want to be solely responsible for it. Could you imagine being responsible for that in another person? It's like, hey, I want to amplify that within you, but that's got to exist within you. And so on that note, the final piece here, if you are a woman that has been settling, we obviously get to reflect, you get to get really clear on the why. And if we're in this place of I'm ready to attract, if you're getting curious about who he is, you have to have the thought that he's probably curious about who she is for him. And can you be really certain, really clear that you are being and embodying that woman? Are you living devoted to the kind of woman that your partner would be calling in for his life? To make this relevant, here's an example. I'm calling in committed partner. Now, I know my committed partner is coming with a level of maturity. My committed partner is probably thinking that we're going to be having babies in 3 to 4 years. So if I think about the kind of standard that that man would write down for his woman, he's thinking probably about things like, what kind of home is this woman going to create? What kind of mother is this woman going to be? How much does this woman work or not? How stable is she? How grounded is she? How much stability does she have in her life? Now, when I thought about that, and I thought about my past 2.5 years, I've been in Perth, in Bali, in Austin, in Perth, in Bali, in Austin, in here, then there. Oh, I'm going to fly to New York City for a podcast. Oh, I'm going to go to Sydney for a guest speaking event. Oh, I'm going to go back to Bali and interview 2 guests. And that's felt really fun and really fulfilling. And when I think about my desire, because I'm not going to create this just for him, I'm going to create this for me. But when I think about my desire, I desire home. And when I think about the kind of woman that he's calling in partner, wife, mother, homemaker. And so freedom lifestyle Rebecca wouldn't be in alignment with him right now. So a part of my personal work for me and for my future partner is creating that home stability for me so I can live in devotion to the kind of life that we will be creating together. What an episode. I really hope that planted so many seeds within you to think about, reflect on, get curious about, and asking yourself questions and actually answering them is a key to your transformation. So when I put questions into the podcast, please spend some time thinking about them. Whether you journal, you go to the beach, or even thinking about them when you drive. But listen to this podcast and afterwards ask yourself, like, hey, that last guy that I dated, which was the first flag that appeared and why did I choose to ignore it? And literally answer it. Sometimes I drive and I speak out loud when I'm driving. Sometimes I go for a coast walk and I talk out loud when I'm walking because I ask myself questions so that I can answer them. You have so much wisdom inside of you, so much knowledge, so much knowing. And I can ask you really great questions. I can reflect really powerfully, but the truth that you're searching for and the answers that you're looking for, they live within you. The final thing that I want to offer you that I thought to myself when I was reflecting on Mr. Purpose Driven and Mr. South America is that if I have to shrink for a relationship to work, then that's not the relationship for you. If you love this episode, please screenshot it, share it to your story. On Spotify, you can leave little comments. I read every single one. I reply to every single one. So please leave a comment if you loved this episode. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave me a written review. And if you're over watching on YouTube, click subscribe so that I can see you there every single week. I cannot wait to be back in your ears next week. I hope you have the most beautiful, brilliant day. Let's fucking go.